All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for showing up this morning to officially welcome back Kelly Krauskopf as the president of basketball business operations for the Indiana Fever.
What if the biggest story in the WNBA wasn't just Caitlin Clark's record-breaking debut, her million-dollar endorsement deals, or the sold-out arenas? What if simmering just beneath the surface, a seismic power play is unfolding that could forge a dynasty before our very eyes? The whispers began as faint echoes in the deepest corners of basketball forums, but now they have erupted into a deafening roar that threatens to shake the league to its very core. Sources embedded deep within the Indiana Fever's organization are hinting at something truly unprecedented. A move so audacious it feels like a script from a Hollywood movie. A decorated WNBA champion, a certified star in her prime, has allegedly delivered an ultimatum to her own team. She wants out, and she has only one destination on her mind. This is no longer just a baseless rumor. You're the Fever's own president, in a stunning display of strategic communication, appears to have just confirmed the entire thing without ever speaking her name. And the aftershocks are about to permanently alter the landscape of professional basketball. The entire saga centers on a name that casual fans might not immediately recognize, but every general manager in the WNBA knows and fears: Azurá Stevens. The initial chatter was easy to dismiss, the kind of speculative fiction that fans dream up. But then the pattern shifted. Respected basketball insiders and beat reporters started picking up the scent, validating the whispers with cryptic posts and hearing from sources updates. The narrative crystallized with shocking speed. Stevens, the dynamic 6 feet 6 inches forward for the Los Angeles Sparks, had supposedly reached her breaking point. But this wasn't merely about frustration with a rebuilding team. It was about a calculated, ruthless ambition. The rumor, now gaining unstoppable momentum, is that she made her intentions crystal clear to the Sparks front office. This wasn't a request. It was a demand. She wanted a trade, and she specifically wanted to land in Indiana to forge an alliance with the new empress of the basketball world, Caitlin Clark. A move of this magnitude is a true black swan event in sport. Established stars don't typically force their way to a team led by a rookie, especially not a franchise that has been languishing at the bottom of the standings for years. But this situation is an outlier in every sense of the word, signaling a fundamental paradigm-shifting change in how elite athletes perceive power, legacy, and opportunity in the modern WNBA. See, this demand isn't just a trade request. It's a declaration that the old rules no longer apply. It reveals a burning desire to win. And it's a power play that could detonate the league's competitive balance, creating an instant powerhouse that no one, not even the reigning champions, would be prepared for. But that was just the opening salvo. Because to truly grasp the earth-shattering implications of this demand, you must first understand the weapon that is Azurá Stevens. To comprehend the sheer gravity of this potential move, you have to recognize that Azurá Stevens is not just another talented player. She is the missing infinity stone for the Fever's championship gauntlet. She is in every conceivable way the perfect piece to complete a championship puzzle that Indiana didn't even know it was solving this quickly. But standing at a formidable 6 feet 6 inches, she embodies the evolution of the modern basketball big. She possesses that vanishingly rare combination of size, agility, and skill that keeps opposing coaches awake at night. She is not a traditional back to the basket center. Stevens is a unicorn, a player who can dominate the paint on defense, grab a rebound, and then fluidly lead the fast break, or more terrifyingly, spot up at the three-point line and drain a shot with the confidence of an elite shooting guard. Her skill set is what makes her the ultimate strategic weapon in today's pace and space game. Furthermore, Stevens is not a young talent hoping to win one day. She's a proven champion who has already reached the mountaintop. She has a championship ring from her pivotal role with the 2021 Chicago Sky to a team that defied all odds to win the title. She understands the pressure, the sacrifice, and the unwritten rules of a championship locker room. She brings a veteran presence and a battle-tested composure that the incredibly young and talented Fever roster desperately needs to navigate the treacherous waters of a full WNBA season and playoff run. Now allow yourself to visualize the tactical nightmare she creates. Picture Caitlin Clark with her otherworldly court vision and limitless range initiating a pick and pop with Azurá Stevens at the top of the key. If the defense makes the fatal mistake of sending a second defender at Clark, she makes a simple, effortless pass to a wide-open Stevens who shot nearly 36% from three last season. A deadly number for a player of her size. See, if the defense stays glued to Stevens to respect her shooting, it leaves a massive lane for Clark to exploit with her crafty drives to the basket. All the while, the reigning Rookie of the Year, Aaliyah Boston, is commandingly positioned in the low post, ready to punish any defender who dares to leave her to help. It's a strategic checkmate before the game even begins. Stevens is the ultimate offensive catalyst, the key that unlocks the absolute maximum potential of both Clark and Boston. Her presence on the floor would instantly create a three-headed monster, a juggernaut with no discernible weakness that no single defensive scheme in the league could hope to contain. Her skill set is not just an upgrade. It's a franchise-altering force multiplier. But the real motivation behind this audacious demand transcends mere on-court chemistry by tapping directly into the most powerful economic and cultural phenomenon in modern sports history. This alleged trade demand isn't just about offensive sets and defensive rotations. It's a brilliant and strategic business decision to capitalize on the single greatest explosion in popularity women's basketball has ever witnessed, the Caitlin Clark effect. This is not a manufactured media narrative. It is a tangible, quantifiable economic hurricane that is reshaping careers, franchises, and the financial futures of everyone in its path. Players, agents, and executives around the league have watched in a state of suspended disbelief as every single arena Caitlin Clark enters becomes the hottest ticket in town, with prices on the secondary market skyrocketing to Super Bowl levels. Home games are sold out for the season and away games are being moved to larger NBA arenas to accommodate the unprecedented demand. Television ratings are not just breaking records. They are annihilating them, bringing millions of new dedicated eyeballs to the WNBA. To be in Caitlin Clark's orbit is to be at the center of the sports universe. It means playing on national television every single week, being the lead story on sports networks, and having every highlight replayed on a global scale. For a player like Azurá Stevens, this translates to a level of exposure that was previously impossible. It means more opportunities for national endorsement deals, a bigger social media following, and a brand recognition that extends far beyond the hardcore WNBA fan base. Stevens is a shrewd and intelligent professional who understands the fleeting nature of an athletic career. And the window to maximize one's earnings and build a lasting legacy is brutally short. Playing in a major market like Los Angeles is great, but the Sparks are in a deep rebuilding phase, completely overshadowed in a city crowded with superstar athletes. Playing alongside Caitlin Clark, however, places you on the main stage under the brightest spotlights imaginable. Every brilliant pass she makes that leads to your basket becomes a viral clip. You cease being just a great player. You become a co-star in the most compelling show in sports. This demand is a clear and resounding signal that elite players are now making career choices based on a new calculus, one that weighs platform and exposure just as heavily as championship contention. Caitlin Clark isn't just a teammate. She's a one-woman stimulus package. She's a kingmaker who can elevate her allies to new heights of fame and fortune. Azurá Stevens is making a calculated, brilliant power play to ensure she has a throne in the new royal court. And the most stunning twist in this entire affair is that the Indiana Fever's own front office appears to be publicly fanning the flames of these very rumors. In the world of professional sports, trade rumors are a constant, but they are most often met with a firm no comment from team executives. However, the recent media appearances by Indiana Fever president Dr. Allison Barber have been a masterclass in covert communication, effectively confirming the team's intentions without ever whispering the target's name. When pressed by reporters about the franchise's strategy for building around their generational rookie, Barber has masterfully avoided specifics while painting a crystal-clear picture of the exact player she is targeting. She has repeatedly, almost rhythmically, emphasized the urgent need to surround her young core of Clark and Boston with veteran leadership and, most tellingly, championship DNA. Azurá Stevens, a vital contributor to a title-winning team, is the living embodiment of that exact profile. But the coded language didn't stop there. Barber has also spoken at length about the strategic necessity of adding floor spacing and front court versatility to complement Aaliyah Boston's dominant interior presence and to give Caitlin Clark more room to operate. A 6 feet 6 inches forward who is a proven and consistent threat from the three-point line is the literal textbook definition of a floor-spacing versatile big. And you cannot draw a more direct line between a general manager's stated needs and a specific player's skill set. For those who understand how this game is played behind the scenes, Barber's comments are not just idle chatter. They are a public signal, a flare sent up for the entire league to see. It's a message to the Los Angeles Sparks that the Fever are serious. It's a message to Azurá Stevens' agent that their interest is real. And it's a message to the Indiana fan base that the front office is not content to wait. They are operating with a mandate to win. Now, these public statements have transformed the rumors from the realm of speculative fantasy into a tangible, strategic, and aggressive objective. The message is as clear as day. Indiana is on the hunt and they have their target locked in their sight. Yet wanting a star and acquiring a star are two vastly different realities. And the path to bringing Azurá Stevens to Indiana is a treacherous one, fraught with high-stakes negotiations and franchise-altering decisions. A trade demand is an incredibly powerful chess move, but it is not a checkmate. The Los Angeles Sparks front office, now led by general manager Reagan Pebley, holds the ultimate power, and they are under no obligation to simply surrender their star player. They will, and they should, demand a king's ransom in return for a player of Stevens's caliber and importance. Any realistic trade package would force the Indiana Fever to part with a substantial portion of their future. This would almost certainly mean surrendering multiple future first-round draft picks, the very lifeblood of a rebuilding franchise. Alternatively, and perhaps more painfully, it could mean trading away one of their own beloved and promising young players. A name frequently mentioned in these hypothetical scenarios is NaLyssa Smith, the phenomenal forward who was the number 2 overall pick just 2 short years ago. Trading a player of her potential would be a gut-wrenching decision for the Fever faithful and the front office alike. Beyond the cost of assets, there is the intricate and often frustrating puzzle of the WNBA salary cap. Making the salaries match for a player on a significant contract like Stevens requires a level of financial creativity that can often derail deals. The Fever would have to structure the trade perfectly to absorb her contract without being forced to shed other key role players, potentially gutting the very roster depth they need to compete for a title. And there's always the possibility that the Sparks simply refuse to play ball. They could call Stevens's bluff, deciding that the negative optics and on-court loss from trading their star are far worse than managing an unhappy player for a season. They could hold out for an offer so overwhelmingly favorable that the Fever would have no choice but to walk away. This is the brutal high-stakes poker game of franchise building. The Fever have a generational trump card in Caitlin Clark and see a clear path to a dynasty. But the price of admission to that future, the cost of accelerating the timeline, might be to mortgage the very foundation they've so carefully built. The demand has initiated the battle. But the war for Azurá Stevens has only just begun. And if against all odds they emerge victorious, then the entire league will be forced to brace for the impact. Should the Indiana Fever successfully navigate this minefield and finalize a trade for Azurá Stevens, The move would resonate far beyond a single win or loss. It would be a deafening declaration of war on the established hierarchy of the WNBA. The acquisition would not just make them a playoff team. It would instantly catapult them into the elite tier of championship contenders, placing them on equal footing with the dynastic Las Vegas Aces and the star-studded New York Liberty. The league's carefully balanced ecosystem would be thrown into complete and utter chaos. The balance of power would shift so violently it would be felt in every front office from Seattle to Connecticut. Teams that believed they had a 2- or 3-year window to build a contender would suddenly see that window slammed shut. The pressure on rival general managers to execute a counter-move, to go out and acquire their own star, would become immense and immediate. Would this trigger a league-wide arms race? A frantic scramble for talent that forces teams to risk their futures for a chance to compete with the new juggernaut in Indiana. The on-court implications are just as terrifying for the rest of the league. The formation of a Big Three in Indiana featuring Clark's unprecedented offensive genius, Boston's interior dominance, and Stevens's versatile inside-out threat would create a strategic and tactical nightmare with no clear solution. But the most profound and lasting ripple effect would be the establishment of a new precedent. And this move would send an undeniable message to every current and future superstar in the WNBA. Indiana is the new center of the basketball universe. The gravitational pull of Caitlin Clark is so powerful, so paradigm-altering that it can attract established championship-winning veterans to a market once considered undesirable. This could be the first of many dominoes. Imagine the conversations happening 2 years from now when other veterans on expiring contracts are weighing their options. The choice will no longer be limited to big market glamour in New York or Los Angeles. The fastest path to a championship ring and unparalleled global exposure might just run through the heart of Indianapolis. This single audacious trade could redefine the Fever franchise for the next decade, transforming them from lovable underdogs into the league's new villains, the formidable imposing empire that everyone else is desperately chasing. This is how dynasties are born. Not just through patient drafting, but through bold, aggressive, landscape-altering power plays. What we are witnessing is not just another trade rumor. It is a watershed moment for the future of the WNBA. A confluence of generational talent, calculated ambition, and the unstoppable economic force of Caitlin Clark. The alleged demand from Azurá Stevens is a masterstroke, a calculated gamble to hitch her wagon to a supernova and in doing so secure her own legacy and financial future. The Indiana Fever's front office, through their impeccably chosen and deliberately coded language, has all but screamed from the rooftops that they are in pursuit of a player with her exact credentials, signaling their unwavering commitment to building a champion and building it immediately. The pieces are in motion on the grand chessboard. The stakes have been raised to their absolute limit, and the specter of a new dynasty now casts a long shadow over the entire league. We have arrived at a pivotal crossroads. Is this the precise moment the Indiana Fever shed their identity as a feel-good story and emerge as a fearsome conquering empire? Is Azurá Stevens the first of many superstars who will see the undeniable power of the Caitlin Clark effect and orchestrate their own path to Indiana? The demand has been made. The front office is strategically fueling the speculation, and the entire basketball world is now holding its breath, waiting anxiously to see if the first earth-shattering move of the Caitlin Clark era is about to become a cold, hard, and terrifying reality.